Commander Evelyn Evie Chang stood at the command center of the Vanguard, Earth's most advanced space cruiser, staring out at the vastness of the quiet expanse. The quiet void outside the ship's reinforced glass seemed endless, with only the dim light of distant stars piercing the blackness. It was a moment of peace. Earth had entered an era of unprecedented calm, a golden age marked by scientific exploration, intergalactic alliances, and technological marvels. There was no war, no chaos. Humanity had come to believe it had put its violent past behind. Evie had always believed in this peaceful future. As a brilliant strategist and the captain of the Vanguard, she had spent years preparing humanity for any unforeseen threat. Her ship was stationed on the edge of the quiet expanse, an unexplored region of space that no one had dared to venture into for centuries. The missions of the Vanguard were simple: observe, record, and report back. It was a safe, predictable life, far from the bloodshed of Earth's past wars. Or so she thought. The quiet was broken by the sharp beep of an alert. A distress signal had been intercepted. Evie's fingers flew over the control panel, pulling up the message. It wasn't just any distress signal, it was a coded SOS unlike any human transmission ever recorded. The message carried a sense of urgency, a desperation that made Evie's skin prickle. It wasn't from a known alien race. The coordinates attached to the message pointed to a distant, almost unreachable location in the far side of the galaxy. But what caught Evie's attention was something even more unsettling. The signal wasn't a plea for assistance from an alien civilization. It was a call from an unknown species, begging humanity for help. The message was cryptic, filled with strange symbols and a language that neither Evie nor anyone on her crew had ever seen before. Despite the intricate encryption, her team of expert codebreakers worked relentlessly to decode it. As the hours passed, the crew became increasingly tense. The message carried something more than a simple request for aid. It held a warning of a catastrophic event. There was talk of an impending galactic war, a conflict that would soon erupt, with humanity placed at its center. The message was clear: Earth must intervene. Evie felt a chill run down her spine. In her time leading the Vanguard, she had encountered countless data streams and alien messages, but never anything like this. Who were these beings, and why was Earth at the heart of their problem? There was no history of humanity being involved in any galactic conflict, at least, none that Evie was aware of. Earth's alliances with alien races had always been based on peace, cooperation, and mutual respect. War had been something relegated to the past, a lesson learned from centuries of destructive conflict. As her crew continued to decode the message, more disturbing details emerged. The SOS contained the coordinates of an ancient, hidden space station 1 that had been built long before humanity's first steps into space. It was a relic of some forgotten time, and it was located on the edge of the galaxy, far from any known colonies or territories. It was old, and its technology was unknown, but the message clearly indicated that this station held the key to preventing the galactic catastrophe the sender had warned about. Evie stared at the message, feeling the weight of its implications. The warning was unmistakable. If humanity did not act, an ancient war would soon be reignited, and Earth would be at the center of the conflict. But why Earth? Why had this unknown species chosen them? And why did the message suggest that a devastating war was inevitable? Evie's mind raced. Everything she knew about Earth's place in the galaxy was suddenly in question. The encrypted message seemed to twist in on itself, revealing more questions than answers. The symbols, now partially decoded, hinted at a long-forgotten conflict. The aliens were asking for Earth's help, but the tone of the message implied something much darker. There was no indication of who the enemy was, only that they were coming. And humanity had to be ready. Evie's hand hovered over the comms console, unsure of who to reach out to. Earth's leaders, the United Earth Federation, had no knowledge of this ancient conflict. The rest of the galaxy believed humanity had remained neutral in the grand conflicts of the cosmos. But this message suggested something different, a dark secret buried deep in Earth's history. The SOS wasn't just a plea for help, it was a call to arms. A call to activate something long forgotten. Her crew, once hopeful and dedicated to peaceful exploration, now faced a new mission. They had to investigate these coordinates, uncover the truth behind the message, and decide whether Earth should intervene in a war that had no place in the peaceful future humanity had worked so hard to build. But something about the situation didn't feel right. The message seemed too calculated. Evie couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this than they were being told. And then there was the fear that gripped her, the fear that Earth might be stepping into a trap. What if the unknown species was manipulating them? What if they weren't the saviors, but the trigger for something catastrophic? With a heavy heart, Evie made her decision. The Vanguard would travel to the coordinates, no matter the risk. The ship's engines roared to life, and the crew braced themselves for the unknown. But as the ship left the safety of Earth's orbit, Evie couldn't shake the nagging thought at the back of her mind. What if Earth's greatest enemy had always been itself? The Vanguard cut through the stars, carrying Earth's fate with it, unaware of the terrible truth that awaited them at the end of the galaxy. Commander Evie Chang stood at the helm of the Vanguard, her hands resting on the console, her mind racing. The coordinates from the distress signal had led them to the edge of the galaxy, to a forgotten space station buried in a vast nebula. Her crew had worked tirelessly to unravel the mysteries surrounding the message, hoping it would bring answers that would guide humanity toward a brighter future. But nothing had prepared them for what they had found. The space station was an ancient relic, long abandoned, and on it, they were called the Mokari, a once powerful race that had vanished from the galaxy centuries ago under mysterious circumstances. At first, the Mokari seemed like a friendly, albeit enigmatic species. They claimed they had come to help humanity, warning of a galactic war that could be triggered by Earth's involvement. But as Evie and her team listened to their tale, something felt off. The Mokari spoke of a future where humanity's mere existence would cause the galaxy to collapse. Their warning was clear: if humanity continued its rapid technological advancement, it would become the catalyst for a galaxy-wide conflict. The Mokari insisted that Earth's presence was a threat, and they would take whatever measures necessary to eliminate it. Evie felt a cold shiver down her spine. She had been raised to believe that Earth's peaceful existence, its alliances with alien races, was the result of careful diplomacy and mutual respect. Humanity was no longer a warlike species, she had been taught. But the Mokari's words challenged everything she thought she knew. Was Earth truly destined for greatness, or had they been blind to their own potential for destruction? The Mokari had vanished from the galaxy long ago, but their legacy, it seemed, was not one of peace. They had watched Earth's progress from the shadows, and they feared the day humanity's technological advances would outstrip their own. According to the Mokari, this day had arrived. Earth's rapid development was seen as a direct threat to the galaxy's fragile stability. They had to act, they said, before Earth's influence spread too far. Evie was torn. The Mokari were once allies of Earth's ancestors, and if they had truly disappeared centuries ago, why had they waited until now to reach out? What had changed? The information the Mokari provided seemed logical. Earth had grown too powerful, too quickly. The technological marvels that had brought peace to the planet had also started to ripple outward, touching every corner of the galaxy. Evie realized that, although humanity had no knowledge of it, Earth's history was intertwined with ancient conflicts that had far-reaching consequences. As Evie dug deeper into the Mokari's claims, her doubts grew. She had once believed that Earth's peaceful age was a result of its hard-earned lessons. But now, the Mokari's warnings rang in her ears, and she found herself questioning the narratives she had been taught her entire life. The Mokari revealed their true intentions. They believed humanity's technological growth was the first sign of a new galactic empire. They had watched as humanity expanded its influence across the stars, forming alliances and establishing colonies, but they had also seen the rise of powerful weapons beyond Earth's control. The Mokari were willing to do anything to stop Earth before it became an unstoppable force. They were prepared to eliminate Earth's influence entirely, to erase humanity from the galaxy before it could destroy everything in its wake. At first, Evie had thought the Mokari were simply paranoid. But as they continued to argue their case, her faith in humanity's innocence began to falter. The Mokari were not mindless aggressors. They had a purpose. They were trying to prevent a war, not only for their survival, but for the survival of the galaxy itself. Evie realized that her people were no longer mere bystanders in the cosmic drama. Humanity's presence in the galaxy had become a ticking time bomb. The situation escalated quickly. The Vanguard had barely left the Mokari space station when reports came in of alien forces aligning themselves against Earth. The Mokari's message was not just a warning, it was a call to action. Earth's allies, who had once praised humanity's peaceful rise, were now turning against them. Some of the alien races, fearing Earth's growing power, sided with the Mokari. They claimed that the Mokari's warning should not be ignored. Political lines within the United Earth Federation began to fracture as factions formed in support of or against the Mokari. Evie's position as commander had never been more challenging. The Vanguard was caught in the middle of an escalating galactic conflict. With the support of her closest officers, she tried to maintain unity among the crew, but the tension was palpable. Some argued that humanity had the right to defend itself, to continue advancing and exploring the stars. Others questioned whether Earth's ambition would lead to the same destructive patterns of the past. The lines between right and wrong had begun to blur, and Evie found herself questioning her own beliefs. Then came the scientific discovery that would shatter her understanding of the situation. While investigating the Mokari's claims, Evie uncovered evidence that humanity's ancestors had played a far darker role in the galaxy's history than anyone had ever realized. An ancient relic, found buried deep within the Mokari's space station, suggested that humanity had once created a weapon of unimaginable power, one that could reshape the very fabric of the galaxy itself. This weapon, which Earth's ancestors had created long before they had achieved space travel, had the potential to cause a chain reaction that could ignite galactic war. The weapon had been hidden away, its purpose lost to time, but the Mokari had been trying to prevent it from being discovered again. The weapon was the key to humanity's future, but it was also the key to its potential downfall. Evie realized that Earth had unknowingly set into motion a series of events that could now trigger a war that would affect not only humanity, but every other species in the galaxy. Her dilemma was clear. Should she share this newfound knowledge with Earth's leaders, risking mass panic and potential civil war? Or should she keep the secret, hoping to stop the Mokari before the weapon's power could be fully realized? The weight of the decision pressed on her, and Evie realized that this was no longer about preventing a galactic war, it was about whether humanity could even survive the consequences of its own existence. The Vanguard sailed deeper into uncertainty, with Evie at the helm, more uncertain than ever before. The truth of the past had been uncovered, but it had only left more questions in its wake. And now, Evie had to make a choice that could alter the fate of every living being in the galaxy. Commander Evie Chang stood in the center of the command room aboard the Vanguard, staring at the holographic map of the galaxy, her mind swirling with the weight of her decision. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the enormity of what she was about to do. The threat of the Mokari and the realization of the ancient weapon buried within humanity's past had pushed her to a terrifying conclusion. There was no other way. In a desperate attempt to stop the Mokari from wiping humanity off the map, Evie had initiated a plan that would either save or destroy everything she had ever fought for. The Prometheus device. It was a weapon of unimaginable power, one designed by humanity's ancestors as a defense against cosmic invaders. But it was also the last of its kind, unstable and immensely dangerous. To deploy it, Evie would need to sacrifice the Vanguard and most of her crew. The Prometheus device, once activated, would send a massive energy wave, a violent pulse capable of neutralizing the Mokari's weapons and completely wiping out their fleet. It was the only way to guarantee Earth's survival in the face of the Mokari's increasingly aggressive stance. But the cost was immense. The wave would also devastate everything in its path, and the resulting destruction would leave Earth unprotected, vulnerable to new, unknown threats from beyond the galaxy. The fragile peace humanity had fought for would be shattered, and the long road to stability could be lost forever. Evie could already hear the voices of her crew in her mind, her friends, her family. They had signed up for this mission to explore the unknown, to safeguard humanity's future. But now, they would be called to make the ultimate sacrifice. There was no turning back. As she made the final preparations for the mission, a new truth began to surface, one that would shake her to the very core of her being. Evie's team had decoded more of the Mokari's ancient records, and the story they told was one of betrayal, survival, and cosmic balance. The Mokari were not just an alien species attempting to protect the galaxy from humanity's rise. They had been appointed as guardians of galactic equilibrium, tasked with maintaining the delicate balance of life in the universe. The Mokari's past was intertwined with humanity's in ways Evie never imagined. They had once been allies with Earth's ancestors, but that was before Earth's ancestors unleashed a wave of destruction upon the galaxy. Long before humanity had established its peaceful alliances, their forebears had waged wars on a galactic scale, bringing chaos to the very fabric of the universe. The Mokari were forced to intervene, to stop Earth's ancestors from tipping the scale too far, from causing irreparable harm to the cosmic order. But even the Mokari were not immune to the damage humanity's ancestors had wrought. They had vanished from the galaxy, but their purpose remained unchanged, to prevent the same mistakes from happening again. The Mokari's warning was not just about stopping humanity's rise. It was a plea for the survival of the galaxy. They had tried to hold back the tide, but humanity had unknowingly been a harbinger of chaos, and now it was poised to repeat the very mistakes of its past. Humanity's technological advances, their rapid growth, and their expanding influence were all signs of the same destructive path that their ancestors had once traveled. The Mokari had seen the signs. They knew what would happen if humanity continued its unchecked rise. The destruction of the galaxy would be inevitable. Evie's mind reeled with this new information. She had always believed humanity's strength was its greatest asset, its ability to learn, adapt, and rise above adversity. But what if that same strength was its greatest flaw? What if humanity's drive to explore, to expand, to conquer was bound to lead to catastrophe? Could she, in good conscience, continue to protect a species that had already been marked by fate as the source of galactic destruction? The revelation left her with a crushing moral dilemma. She was torn between two impossible choices. On one side, there was her duty to protect Earth, to secure humanity's future. Evie had fought for this mission for years, devoted her life to ensuring that humanity could rise beyond the mistakes of its past. But on the other side, there was the cold, hard truth that humanity's existence might be the galaxy's undoing. If she allowed the Mokari to wipe Earth off the map, she would be sacrificing her people, her home, but perhaps for a greater cause. If she fought to preserve humanity, to continue their progress, she risked bringing about a galactic conflict that could spiral beyond anyone's control. Evie's thoughts were interrupted by the voice of her second-in-command, Lieutenant Aaron Patel. He stepped forward, his face grim but resolute. "Commander, we've completed the final checks. The Prometheus device is ready for launch. It's time." Evie swallowed hard, her throat tight. "I know," she said, her voice hoarse. "But what about Earth? What will happen to our home?" Patel looked at her with sorrowful eyes. "We can't predict the consequences. All we know is that activating the device will stop the Mokari, but the destruction will be immense. It will leave Earth exposed, vulnerable to whatever comes next." Evie's mind raced. She had always known the stakes were high, but now the weight of the decision felt unbearable. The Prometheus device could save Earth from the Mokari, but it could also destroy everything humanity had worked for. The very foundations of their peaceful society, the alliances they had painstakingly built, could crumble to dust. The future of humanity, once so promising, could become a bleak and uncertain landscape. A sudden pang of guilt swept over her. She thought of her crew, the faces she had come to trust, to love. They were her family now, and in just moments, she would be sending them to their deaths. The sacrifice was necessary. She knew that. But could she live with the consequences? "Commander, the device is waiting," Patel urged. Evie closed her eyes, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. She could feel the pressure of the universe itself weighing down on her shoulders. This was it. She had made the decision. For humanity's survival, she would have to sacrifice everything. She looked up, her face hardening with determination. "Initiate the launch sequence," she said, her voice unwavering. But as she gave the command, a deep, unsettling realization settled in her chest. No matter the outcome, the universe was changing, and humanity was no longer just a passive observer in its cosmic dance. The Prometheus device, whether it succeeded or failed, would mark a turning point in galactic history. Humanity would be remembered not as the species that saved the galaxy, but as the species that nearly tore it apart. Evie was not sure whether Earth's survival would be a victory or a loss. All she knew was that the time had come for humanity to face the consequences of its actions. And with that, the fate of the galaxy rested in her hands. The moment Evie gave the command, the Prometheus device erupted in a blinding flash of light, its energy surging out like a shockwave, spreading across the galaxy with a force that would change everything. The Vanguard shook violently as the energy pulse cascaded through its systems, cascading through the very fabric of space. Evie braced herself against the console, her mind racing as she felt the gravity of what she had just set into motion. The Mokari fleet, once a looming presence in the galaxy, was obliterated in an instant, their ships disintegrating under the immense power of the energy wave. The devices they had been using to erase humanity's existence flickered and collapsed, powerless in the wake of the Prometheus device's detonation. A victory. At least, that's what Evie had told herself, but the price was steep. The Vanguard was barely holding together. Evie could feel the ship's systems shutting down around her, vital functions flickering like dying embers. The crew had already begun evacuating, and yet many had been caught in the blast. The lives lost weighed heavily on Evie's heart. Each death, each sacrifice, was a brutal reminder that this victory had come at a devastating cost. She staggered to the bridge's viewing window, gazing out into the black expanse of space. The ripple effect of the energy surge stretched across the galaxy, leaving behind only emptiness where the Mokari once stood. But even as she saw their fleet crumble, a sinking feeling gnawed at her. Humanity had survived, but at what cost? The blast had also caused unimaginable damage to Earth's technological infrastructure. The Vanguard's advanced systems were fried, and even Earth's greatest minds would struggle to rebuild what had been lost. Humanity's once glorious technological edge was now severely crippled, leaving them vulnerable to future threats. The golden age of peace, built on technological advancements, had slipped through their fingers like sand. Earth's place in the galaxy was now uncertain, a once powerful species reduced to the status of underdogs. Evie's mind swam with the enormity of what had been done. She had just destroyed the one thing that had ensured humanity's protection. But she had no choice. She had saved Earth and perhaps the entire galaxy, but the future was now a fragile, uncertain thread. The ship's final warning alarms began to blare, pulling Evie out of her reverie. The Vanguard was critically damaged, and there was no time left for contemplation. The crew scrambled to board escape pods, and Evie, too, knew she would have to leave. The Vanguard was done, and so was her command. Her mind wandered to her crew, the friends she had led into the unknown. Many would never make it back to Earth. The thought of losing them, knowing they had died believing in her mission, struck her like a physical blow. She had ordered them into this battle, and now their sacrifices weighed heavy on her soul. As she stood at the escape pod airlock, about to leave the doomed ship, her comms buzzed to life. It was Lieutenant Patel, the last of her crew to make it to safety. His voice was strained, and Evie could hear the panic behind it. "Commander, the energy pulse, it's doing something. Something we didn't anticipate." "What do you mean?" Evie asked, her heart racing. "The surge. It's not just affecting the Mokari. There's something else, something bigger. We're not alone anymore. Something just woke up." Evie's blood ran cold as she heard the gravity in his voice. "What are you saying?" Patel's voice faltered. "I don't know how to explain it, but it's like the pulse awakened a dormant force. It's not of this galaxy. It's ancient, and it's coming this way." Evie's mind raced. The Mokari had warned of a cosmic force, something far more dangerous than even them. She had thought their warnings were just another attempt to control humanity's progress. But now, with the destruction of the Mokari fleet, the truth was becoming clear. The Prometheus device, meant to save humanity, had inadvertently awakened something far more dangerous than the Mokari. An ancient cosmic entity, once believed to be a myth, was now fully aware of Earth's existence and its potential. The device had set into motion, the entity's reawakening, a being older than anything humanity could comprehend, with power beyond any weapon. The implications were staggering. The universe was far more complicated than humanity had ever known, and they were now at the center of a cosmic conflict they had no understanding of. Evie's heart pounded in her chest as she turned to look out into space. The future of humanity was no longer in her hands. The victory she had won, the life she had fought for, seemed hollow now. Earth had survived, but the real test was only just beginning. The true battle had yet to be fought, and Evie was no longer sure humanity was ready for what lay ahead. As Earth began its long process of rebuilding, Evie found herself lost in thought. She wandered the now empty halls of the Vanguard's escape pod station, her mind weighed down by the uncertainty of what she had unleashed. Could humanity evolve beyond its destructive nature, or was it doomed to repeat the same mistakes that nearly brought about its own downfall? The question lingered in her mind as she gazed out at the dark expanse of space. The universe was a vast and dangerous place, and humanity was no longer the only player in the cosmic game. Earth, once a shining beacon of hope in the galaxy, now stood fragile and exposed. Its future hung in the balance. Evie's heart ached as she thought of her crew, the brave men and women who had sacrificed everything. She had led them into this, and now she was left with the consequences of those choices. The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity had to face its own darkness, its own destructive potential, before it could ever hope to rise above the chaos. She sighed deeply, stepping out into the escape pod. The door closed behind her with a soft hiss, sealing her fate. There was no going back now. The Prometheus device had done its job. Humanity had survived, but the real war was just beginning. As she drifted away from the wreckage of the Vanguard and the remnants of the battle, Evie asked herself one final question: what does it mean to be human? And as Earth looked toward the stars, waiting to rebuild, the universe whispered back, the real challenge has only just begun.